curd, dumpling, tripe, dumpling, several dumplings. So that way you can, have a mental Well, hello, and welcome to Restaurant Review. I'm Bob Bockelman, and we're at the beginning of March 2010. Just went through a fantastic Mardi Gras and Saints Tribute, and we're still suffering through an unusually long winter for some reason. We still got some chill in the air, but we're starting to warm up. Hopefully spring is right around the corner. But as you know, we are always out in the restaurants no matter what time of the year. And this year, we have a little different. For the first time in 10 years, we're not having a musician. And that's not necessarily because, we've had trouble getting live musicians in the studio. We still ask you to supply or give us any names you have because it gives these individuals an opportunity to entertain you and give us a little break as we're talking with the chef or the restaurant owner. But the reason today we selected not to have a musical guest is because the type of restaurant, the variety of food, as you know, the normal format, we do around 12 pictures, 3 from each category. But today, the food alone, we're going to be showing you 51 or 52 different food picks. Can you believe that? And I know that's going to tempt you with the idea. So let's go ahead and tell you about it because we're not going to have a lot of time to talk about each of the dishes because we're still only an hour show, even with removing the musician. We took our dining club, for those who remember the New Deal, last Saturday to a WESTBANK location, a restaurant that has been fairly new to the WESTBANK, but more importantly, has just added a brand new feature called dim sum. Dim sum, for those who are not aware, is like tapas. And for those who are not aware what tapas is a small plate. We're all getting more and more interested in smaller plates. But in this situation, since you're offered 50 different varieties of small plates, I guess you really still can have problems with your waistline if that's what you're worried about. But we're happy to bring today the restaurant manager of Panda King, and it's on BEHRMAN Highway. She's going to tell you about it. Got a great looking look on the outside in this wonderful Hong Kong market that everyone's talking about. And we're pleased to have on the show today SOPHIE TRAN. SOPHIE, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Good. Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the details about your restaurant. When did you actually open the restaurant?
We opened the restaurant August of 2005.
Okay. And there, when we talk about the restaurant, it's really multiple restaurants all under one name because I believe you told me you have like 36,000 square feet and it's divided among 3 separate dining rooms.
Correct.
Let's talk about why do we have each of these dining rooms and then specifically last what we did with you all on Saturday.
Well, the main restaurant is the buffet. Okay. We have a huge buffet. And then on the side, which we recently opened, was the fine dining, which we call the dim sum room.
Right.
And then on the other side, we have a large banquet area. We do special events, and it can sit up to 650.
Wow. That's for like weddings and overflow, but she never really has overflow because the main dining room is so large.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's talk about what is the exact address because I get this wrong sometimes.
It's 925 BEHRMAN Highway.
In Gretna. That's considered Gretna. Okay.
Correct.
And part of that Hong Kong market right in the front. You can't miss it. Is that right?
Right. Correct.
Okay, now the main restaurant and the dim sum, which is a new thing, is different hours. Let's talk about the main restaurant first. What are your days opening and closed, and what are your hours in that restaurant?
The buffet opens 7 days a week, Sunday through Thursday. They're open at 11 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. On Fridays and Saturday, the buffet opens from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Okay. Now, dim sum is what we went for. As you know, people, I don't do buffets. No discredit to Sophie, but that's one of the 3 things we don't normally feature on this show. But now that she's gone to dim sum, hired a new chef, when did that first start?
Dim sum started May of 2009, last year, so we're almost making it a year.
Brand new for us, coming up in the year. And you've hired, I think we've got a picture, a wonderful chef, directly, I think from Hong Kong, Chef Lam, right?
Correct.
There's a picture of him with a nice smile. Unfortunately, we usually like to try and get our chefs, and it's not that he was super, super busy, even though that's the case. The main reason is he doesn't speak English yet. He's been brought over here, and so we would have, only our Chinese-speaking audience would be able to understand him. So Sophie's obviously bi, if not trilingual, and she's doing a fantastic job of being able to explain and knowing all the details, being a manager of such a large restaurant and diverse restaurant. Anything else we need to tell them about the restaurant before we start looking at all these fabulous pictures?
Well, dim sum has a special hours. I would like to mention that.
Great. And on days, too.
Correct.
So let's talk about that, please.
Dim sum's only open on Saturdays and Sunday between 10:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. and no reservation is needed.
Okay, so folks, you can't go for dim sum for dinner. You can only go for what we consider brunch hours, and that's 10:30 to 3:30, and only on Saturday and Sunday. So this is great after church or on Saturday when you're out shopping, or if you don't want to go shopping and the other people's shopping, you can sit in there and wonderfully done. And what's so good about it, we've had some dim sum in the city for years, but after Katrina, a lot of that had dried up. There's maybe one other restaurant, but none does the presentations, not only the beautiful ambiance of the restaurant, but the physical presentation. This is the way it should be done, and that is by servers pushing multi-tiered carts, rolling carts to the table, and whether you know the name or what's in the thing, you just point and they serve you those particular dishes that you're looking for. So it's really a lot of fun. It can be interesting and beautifully done. So even though one or two still exist in the city the normal way, it's going to be served without the presentation. So you really want to go for the whole ambiance. So get your family together, friends together on Saturday or Sunday and head on over. As she mentioned, even though very crowded restaurants, the sizes are so big, there's usually no waiting and the turnover is great. Okay, without further ado, let's really get to Panda. Now, folks, you're going to have to look closely. Sometimes we'll take two pictures of a dish. Not this time. We took two, but because of the numerous dishes we have, it's going to be one by one. We're, for the most part, are just going to name the dish, and if there's anything that needs to be explained, we'll do that and spend a little time. But in order for us to get through the hour, we're really going to mainly be identifying the dish by name only. So a lot will look alike, but don't assume, well, that's a duplicate picture like he takes, just a better angle. Everyone will be different. And we also will intersperse the pictures with some pictures of the actual carts that will show you how they're actually served. So just to give you an idea how they're coming around the tables. Okay, let's take a look. I think before we have our first picture of food, we might have a picture of a cart. Let's see if that's the case, or do we have a picture? No, we're starting with food. And these are probably from our is this our hot cart?
This is the steam cart.
Steam cart.
Yes.
So she has them specialized. So these foods are going to be steamed. Look at the beautiful color on this. Almost looks like an Italian dish with the Italian red, white, and green. But go ahead and tell us what this is. Spare ribs, is that right, or pork ribs?
Yeah, it's steamed spare pork ribs.
And what are the red and green things? So you're taking ribs. Now, again, a lot of folks don't know about steaming ribs. They used to sing barbecue, which we'll see later on, or other kind of even fried, but steamed is an unusual thing, I think, for most Americans and on the diet. So, but again, much more healthy. As you know, we're all moving to steamed vegetables and steamed things. We'll see a lot of that in the selection. So this is great, not only from the idea of the health, but also from the variety. So what the reds and greens in that, what was that accompanied by?
Bell peppers and red peppers, okay. And they have jalapeno peppers.
Jalapeno, so we got a little spice in there
as well.
A little
spice.
Yeah, you mentioned that the dish doesn't list a spicy, but it just comes off with a little spice, right?
Yes, correct.
But not over the top,
no.
that you got to worry about this.
No.
Okay, now the next one is a great looking one, and we're going to need a little explanation on this. And this is bean curd sheets, and it is wrapped with pork. So let's talk about this, because I see if people can see this. Notice there's a serving. It looks like maybe 3 in here.
Yeah.
What is bean curd wraps? I mean, we know a wrap because we hear that all day, so we know it's covering something inside. But what is actually bean curd for those who maybe are not familiar?
Bean curd comes from tofu. When you do tofu, it's the top layer of the tofu. So they take that top layer and it becomes a sheet.
Yeah,
so
form it into like a rectangle or a square sheet. sheet, and then you use that to stuff with.
In this case, it's stuffed with black mushroom, and pork.
And pork, yes. And then steam.
And steam.
Okay, so this is another steam dish, as we said.
Correct.
All right, let's go on to another one. Now, next steam. This is one for those who know about dumplings. A lot of Asian, whether it's Japanese, Thai, they all have, and Chinese as well, will have dumplings, and they're different shapes and different contents, and also different preparations. The next one is a dumpling that I call shumai, and it's steamed, and I believe this has shrimp and pork. Tell us about this one, please, Sophie.
This is wrapped in shrimp and pork, and it is steamed, and it's the paper itself that's wrapped is like a wonton.
Wonton. So, yes, very, very light and fluffy.
Very light.
Right, so it's not going to be heavy dough, anything like that.
No.
And notice, and you're going to see when we get to the actual steam cord, which I believe follows the steam in this situation, you're seeing an actual service presentation. It's in a actual tin, I guess, is that stainless steel or?
Stainless steel.
Stainless steel dish that has a cover. So it's coming fresh from the oven to you. So when that is opened up, all that steam comes out and really just adds another dimension that we can't bring to you over the TV to the dish, but certainly ensures it's great warmth and tasting. Okay, so that would be shumai dumplings, and we have another one next time, and this is going to be well, no, this is not a dumpling. This is this is something for maybe not for the queasy, even though we have a lot of this in French cooking, and that's beef tripe. Tell us what you do on this particular.
Beef tripe here is sliced really thin, and it does have.
And that is the intestines for those of a pork, of a pig, or a cow. Beef. So these are from a cow.
Yes.
Cow intestines. Go ahead.
And it's steamed with ginger.
Okay.
And carrots.
That's that brown looking in there.
And also jalapeno peppers. So it does have a hint of spice on this one too.
Excellent. So there you go. Now again, we understand some of these dishes. May be a little strange for you. You can't say, I see all those in my Chinese restaurant. Very few of these. There's going to be some. You'll see egg rolls, some of these dumplings, some of the noodle dishes. But for the most part, 80, 85, 90% of these are going to be not familiar to you from the typical Chinese restaurant here, certainly locally here. Okay, now we're going back to the dumplings, and we're still going with steam. Let's take a look and see what the next one is. I believe that's the shrimp. Is that steamed shrimp?
Yes, this is a shrimp dumpling.
Okay. And again, it's a similar wonton. What kind of dough are we using?
This is a rice dough.
Okay, so it's different than the other, right?
Yes, it's not like a wonton sheet. It's really dough itself.
Yeah, it's a little bit more consistency to the dough.
Correct.
And then stuffed with shrimp, and then once again steamed and served in the steam container. Notice you can see a little better that's over the aluminum or the stainless steel pan for the moisture and all to drop, and then re-emphasize the steaming. Okay, we got another dumpling, and this one's very unusual, so I don't think you'll find this at any of the restaurants that even have Japanese or that have dumplings, and that's a shark fin dumpling. Now, tell us about this one, please.
Shark fin dumpling, it's little bits of shark fin, I don't know if you know.
So it's actually the fin. I mean, literally the fin of the shark.
Correct, and it's stuffed in shrimp, and it's also steamed, and they do use the wonton sheet on this one.
So this is back to the original one we saw with the wonton sheet. That's why you can tell folks when they're using the wonton, because it's pretty almost transparent as it cooks. It steams. You get more and more of the actual content showing through, whereas in the other one with the rice, it's a little thicker, so it stays a little more opaque.
Yeah.
But here you can always tell if it's rice paper or rice content, because then once that's steaming, then it comes a lot more transparent. Okay, now the next one, again, folks, this is for maybe not for the weak of heart. It's something that most Americans, unless they've eaten a lot of Asian food, have ever tried. So be careful. Remember, none of these things are forced on you. You pass, and many times you can't even identify what the dish is from its looks. So that's even the good part about it, even though your server most of the time is able to explain any dish that he or she is serving to you. But the next one is really, I'm going to let Sophie go ahead and tell us. Let's talk about the next one, please.
This is what we call the steamed phoenix claws.
These are not buffalo wings, folks, but even though if that's what it takes for you to try it, please, go ahead. Tell us about your steamed phoenix claws.
They're actually called... They're chicken feet, but
Okay.
we call it the Phoenix Claw because of during the time when they were making the menu, they kind of like wanted to use a name where it doesn't distract the people from eating it and not
Right.
trying it. So
In other words, scare the people off.
correct.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they named it the Phoenix Claw, but it's actually chicken feet. It's steamed and has a long process.
Yeah,
And-
let's go over that a little bit because I know people are going to reel in horror. I mean, this is not something they just took the chicken's feet and then poured some barbecue sauce, some sauce on it. And it's not just steamed once. I know you tell us
Yeah.
real quickly how long of a process and
It's a
multiple
very
layers.
long process. It goes to 3 different kinds of water besides getting deep fried, and it gets soaked in different kinds of spices before it gets to the final product and getting steamed.
Now, how does the consistency? Is it still a little chewy, or how does it?
No, it's not chewy. It's,
Well, you see, I think that's what most people would think.
No.
So that's why I'm asking. Because
no, it's not chewy at all.
Good. That's the important thing. Okay, folks, give it a try. Don't rule it out. We'll have another one like that a little later, so don't think you're over with it. The next one that I think you'd like, this one is something again back to dumplings. We got some dumplings, and this one is shrimp and I think green onion. So is that right? That's
Yeah,
and
it's-
again steamed, huh?
Yes, and then this is the rice cake that they use to steam the shrimp and Chinese green onions.
Okay, now when you say rice cake. That's just the description.
Yeah, it's just a
Because
description.
Americans think
because-
cake, anything word cake,
Yeah,
it's a dessert.
no.
This is not a dessert, not a sponge
No.
cake, anything like that.
Yeah, it's just the rice. It's not where the wonton, when you see it's yellow,
Right.
it's made out of eggs.
Eggs,
This
right.
is not made out of eggs at all.
Okay. And which adds in a little more flavor than just the other shrimp one by putting Chinese green onions. And of course, everybody says, well, that's just green onions. You're going to see some differences that Asian vegetables grown by are totally different. I mean, they might look alike or look near the other, but flavor-wise, they're tremendously prepared and wonderful. So you don't have. Please don't think you have to be a vegetarian. I don't think you're going to understand it's a green onion, but it is a different taste to it, and certainly adds a lot of flavor to the shrimp steam. Okay, and next. My personal favorite, I always call it the surprise box, and that is sticky rice with a lotus leaf wrapping. I think we're going to have a picture coming up. Okay, folks. Now, the only problem with this is that if you eat even one of these other serving, it's going to fill you up so much it's hard to go on beyond it. So I usually share half of one. We cut it in half. But let's talk about the contents and about the lotus leaf, which is actually what's holding and cooking the inside of the rice.
Yes, the lotus leaf, of course, it's very large. It's wrapped in the sticky rice and has some ground pork and also a piece of Chinese sausages.
Now, is the leaf used in natural, or do you do something to the leaf?
No, the
before
leaf is natural.
Natural,
It's
right.
dried.
Right.
Once it's steamed, it gets softer.
Revitalizes with the moisture.
Correct.
Right.
And then that's where you get the aroma from the lotus leaf.
This I equate to people who've eaten either in Caribbean cuisine or maybe some Spanish, where they would take a banana leaf and
Correct.
steam a fish. It's so wonderful where that is infused with that banana taste. For those who eat in some of the Jamaican restaurants or other Caribbean, that is what we're talking about. The lotus leaf actually infuses additional flavor to the rice. So, like I say, it's always been one of my favorites. Just the problem is I can't eat a whole one if I'm going to eat more. Folks, we didn't mention that our director always puts up our phone numbers. If you care to ask us any questions about the show, about Sophie's Restaurant, don't hesitate to call those numbers that'll be shown on the screen, and we'll be glad to entertain whatever we can during our time limit. Okay, now let's go on. We've just finished the lotus leaf, and the next one is now this one probably people are going to say, here we go. This is, I mentioned, unfortunately we inappropriately didn't put this in the beginning like the other. This is the actual, and we got 2 pictures of this, the actual steam carts, and you can see the handles, and it's stainless steel, and it's on multiple 2 levels or 3 levels that they put the stewards push around, and notice how they stack. All these stainless steel servers stack upon each other, and they all have lids on them, and you can see, so when they open it up, the steam comes out and they serve it to your table. So really a cool deal if you've never seen it, and especially to see them pushing these all through the dining room. And like I say, when they open up, you just point to what you want. They'll ask and they'll tell you. Now let's see. We're going to look at some of the next thing. I don't know if we are still in steam or not. Yes, I do believe this one. when people hear the name, they're going to think it's a dessert, but it's not. And it's steamed custard cream bun. Is that right?
Correct.
Tell us about that. Well, custard cream always sounds like a dessert to us Americans or French people. Go ahead.
Custard cream is like a mixture of mung bean with eggs. So it is sweet. It can be considered a dessert, but we like to eat it at any time. Not particularly dessert.
And this bun, what is the bun
sweet.
made out of? Is that the rice again?
Yes, the rice dough.
The rice dough. So and then a little dot on the top? Is it?
So that we...
I didn't know if that was strictly decorative or whether it had a...
No, it's actually to let the girls push cart that they know exactly what they're
which one,
identify.
Yeah.
Because it's yellow. It's the same color as the dough, the inside,
the contents.
the stuffing.
Very good.
Yeah.
Right. So it's color coding your food.
Correct.
But no, really a pretty piece and also something very enjoyable. Now the next one is again one of my favorites, and it's steamed barbecue pork bun. Now look at the shape here. It reminds me of the old when we were kids. You'd take almost origami paper things and you'd wrap them and make like wishes and horoscopes, whatever. But it's an unusual shape and then a wonderful, very surprising filling. So let's talk about that one, please.
Yeah, this is barbecue pork, and it's diced up with a sweet and sour sauce. If people think
right.
It's sweet and then it's sour, and it's stuffed inside these rice dough, which when it's steamed, it opens up like that.
Exactly. So and right away, people thought we were getting dessert, but this was because it looks like something with preserves on the inside. But it does, as she mentioned, the sweet and sour or whatever, dill barbecue sauce or the pork that's inside adds a wonderful flavor. So it really is a great contrast and just a beautiful, beautiful dish. So do try that. I think you'll certainly like it. Now we're getting to something that looks a little bit more recognizable to most of the folks, and that's your roasted soy sauce chicken. I believe that's what it's called. Tell us, look how beautiful this dish is, folks. Tell us what we got going on here, please, Sophie.
This chicken is it's marinated in a special soy sauce blend, and it's roasted up instead of the normal regular barbecue chicken. We have it roasted in soy sauce.
Everybody's looking for roasting chicken, rotisserie chicken and stuff, so this is a wonderful, wonderful dish. Now, the next one is one, again, that's going to be two similar looking things, but different tasting, and I want Sophie to tell us about it, but it's actually, now this is a fried dish, pan-fried taro cake.
No,
turnip. I'm sorry. I get confused because they look alike.
Yes, they look similar but different texture.
And once again, we're not talking about dessert when we use the term cake. Let's talk about what exactly is turnip cake and how
this is the rice dough. Turnip, if you're familiar with, is the root, the turnip, and it's cut and sliced with also pork bits in there.
To give it a little flavor.
Yes, to give it a little flavor, and it is pan fried. It's not deep fried, and it has a softer texture than a taro.
Now, is there anything coating it or anything like that gives it the beautiful brown?
No, it's no coating. It's just the dough. When you pan fry it at the right heat, at the right heat, it'll have
that. Well, some people ask, well, is that cinnamon flake?
No, it's not cinnamon.
No. I figured it was natural, but I'm just
correct.
asking.
It is natural.
Now, folks, the next one, I think you're really gonna say, well, this is French food. This is New Orleans food. This is what we all know as stuffed bell peppers with shrimp. And what's interesting, once again, they're going to have a regular, a mild, and a spicy version coming up. But this is just as important in the Chinese world, and it is called stuffed shrimp with bell peppers, right?
Correct.
Tell us a little bit besides the shrimp. What goes into the stuffing? Do you know?
Well, it's mostly shrimp and then onions, but it also has another sauce that, of course, here in the picture it doesn't show. It has an oyster garlic sauce that we put on top of it
so
too.
Clear, huh? Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
But that brings the flavor out too.
Wow, that's got to add a lot to the flavor, sure.
Yes.
Well, okay, well, great. So remember, you can get now. Does the sauce come on it, or it comes on the side?
It comes on the side.
On the side
for people who
don't want to try it. Exactly. Okay, now the next dish should be something that most people would recognize as well, and that's the barbecue sliced pork. Is that, no, I'm sorry.
This is the Chinese breadsticks.
Chinese breadsticks. Okay. Now, we know about Italian breadsticks. How does this differ from an Italian, which is usually thinner? But again, what are we talking about different?
Well, this is Chinese breadstick. It's very light. We normally eat it with our porridge, We don't eat it like by itself. We dip it in rice soup, which is the porridge congee. We have different names for that, but we dipped it in the soup itself.
Soup itself, and then fried
Correct.
it. Excellent. Yeah. Now the next one, unless I got out of order, should be similar to the one we talked about, the taro cake, where we had fried taro cake. We had turnip cake. Oh, all right. Excuse me. I didn't put notes for when we put the cards. Now, what card is this?
This is just a specialty card,
Okay.
which, it shows the Chinese bread, the stuff, bell peppers, and some taro cakes, and some chicken.
Again,
chicken.
folks, we're talking to Sophie TRAN. She's the restaurant manager of the giant Panda King, of which one of the dining rooms is dedicated to dim sum. On weekends, Saturday and Sunday from 10:30 to 3. We had our dining group there last weekend, and they thoroughly enjoyed it. And as you can see, who couldn't with the amount of these varieties coming by you on the cart? So we want to pick it up from there, and let's see what we got next. And I believe the next one... is that going to be the... we still got another card. That's a specialty card. Again, this is strictly for effect. We're not trying to name the dishes on top there. Let's go on to the next and see if we can get a close-up that we can talk about, okay? Let's see if it's the deep-fried taro. No? Okay, that's the pork, huh?
Yes.
Okay, this is what I said. This is one you should recognize. If you're in most Chinese restaurants, a fabulous barbecue sliced pork. Wonderful flavor. Tell us what you do. Obviously, it looks like you have a little cilantro, or what do we have on that?
Cilantro is on top to the good presentation. But the barbecue is actually done the night before. It soaks in a special sauce, which brings out the color. It has a hint of red color in it.
Right.
It's sweet, so it sits overnight. Then the next day when we come in, it's roasted.
Right. But again, this is not spicy. This is more sweet.
No, it's not spicy.
For those
it's
who
just roasted.
want to stay away from
pork.
the spice, this is one that I think you'll really like if you like pork. And again, beautifully sliced, no bones, so it's very easy. Now, the next one, I believe, is the deep-fried taro cake. No? So I can't get it right now. I'm totally off base. This is one of my favorites, again, and it's not appearing in every Chinese restaurant. Sometimes you can ask for it. Many times if you see something with broccoli, it's using American broccoli, even in the Chinese dishes. This is actually Chinese broccoli. So look how magnificent the green, just a wonderful taste. So if you like broccoli, I guarantee you'll like it. Let's tell us, how do you prepare the Chinese broccoli?
Chinese broccoli is steamed. It's steamed with the light sauce. Before it also has a sauce that comes with it, but because here in picture-wise we didn't put it on, it has an oyster sauce that's
similar to what we talked about before, the oyster
Correct.
sauce. Yeah.
But this is the pure form of the oyster sauce.
Again, yeah. You don't, I think you don't need it if you
Yes,
it'd be better to try
steam.
it first by itself,
Correct.
so you'll know what the true flavor is. But there's nothing wrong. The oyster sauces are just fantastic to even enhance the flavor. But I eat it just right like it's served. It's just fantastic. Now, one more time, if it's not right, I'm gonna give up. This is supposedly, I think, our deep fried taro cake.
Yes.
No?
Yes,
I'm giving up.
yes.
Yeah, it is.
This is
Finally.
deep fried taro.
Taro, yes.
It's stuffed.
Not a cake, though, huh?
No, it's not a cake. It's just called deep
puff.
fried taro puffs.
Now, what
Yes.
is taro for people? We're not talking about the cards that tell you horoscope. Some people say, oh, we know, but what are they talking about? It's spelled for all, it's only T-A-R-O. It doesn't have a T on it. Tell us what taro is for those who are not familiar, please.
It's the purple potato, Japanese purple potato that we use.
Very good. And so what do you do in this regard?
It's all potatoes and it's stuffed inside.
Are they solid, whole, or are they sliced?
It's solid.
Okay.
It's solid. Well, actually, what they do is they kind of like scrub it, into it's a form of a dough.
Right, but I mean, it's a whole mess.
Yes.
It's not very thinly sliced and put back together. It is the whole potato or most of the potato.
Yeah, it's making to a dough form.
Excellent.
And then it's deep fried, stuffed with stuffed pork and shrimp.
Pork and shrimp. Excellent, to give it flavor. Now, the next one, though, again, just like we had the French with the bell pepper, perhaps we've got an Italian dish coming up for you. You'll think, we got a card again. There we go. Which card is this on the angle?
It's just a specialty card.
I apologize for that picture, folks. So let's move on to the next picture. Let's see if we can get a close-up. And if we can get the next... This, folks, we didn't go to an Italian restaurant. This is deep fried calamari. Let's talk about how you call it and what you do is differently. So everybody knows calamari, a squid that they have certainly as an appetizer in Italian restaurants. What do we have here?
This is spicy salt calamari.
So we've got salt on it and we've got spice. What kind of spice level we're talking about here?
Different kinds of spice with the jalapenos, red peppers. We have black peppers too. It's lightly battered, deep fried, then it's stir fried inside the with the different spices.
Yeah.
So it takes a couple of processes.
I think you'll see compared to the Italians, which really like to load on their crusting, the Asians always have a much thinner, lighter crust. So that's what I like about it. If you're going to eat fried food, I like to have the taste, not just the batter. You know, if you're tasting all batter, then it can be anything on the inside. So that's what's great about this one, and really basically all Asian fried foods. Now, moving on, folks, and I'm sorry, so you stop us at any time if you like to ask a question by calling in one of the numbers, but we're only about near 20 and we've got about 30 more to do. So the next one is back, we're talking about sticky rice, and this one with Chinese sausages. Now, I've never heard of Chinese sausages. Let's see if we can take a look and verify. Did I get the right one?
Yes.
Okay. Now, notice this looks a little strange. What's happening there? But maybe Sophie can tell us why there's kind of a glass look around it. What happens here?
Well, this is called a sticky rice with the Chinese sausage and eggs. It's preserved in the glass because we like to keep it shaped. And once someone orders it, they open it. Yes, they keep it in the mold, and then we open it up. But it's much different compared to the one that we saw earlier from the lotus leaf because of the texture. This is more dry, where a lot of people assimilate it to fried rice.
Right, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
A lot of people, if they would see this, especially when it's out, are going to think, oh, that's just Chinese fried rice.
Yes, it's similar, but the texture is just more sticky than dry.
Right, which I like a lot. But I mean, some people don't. I know some people don't understand sticky rice, but like in Japanese, that's so important for sushi. That same entity that gives it a little moisture and a little stickiness, and again, you've got to taste it to see the difference, but at least that's something they can equate to see the
and the grain is much bigger,
much larger grain,
like a long grain.
Okay, now the next one we're going to have again, let's see what we have here. Chinese onions pan fried dumplings. So we got
here's your taro cake.
I knew I couldn't get it right, folks. If you remember earlier when we had the fried turnip cake, it was looked like the same thing here, almost like not a dumpling. It looks more like a sheet cake, like again a dessert. But instead of using the turnip, we're now using taro, which we said is the root, right?
Yeah, vegetable. It's the purple potato.
Right. And they're slicing it and forming it into cakes, and then they're coating it with anything before they pan fry it?
No coating, just pan fry, natural color when they do it.
So there you go. So that's what's so good is that, if you go and you see one and they say, oh, they're passing it around again, not necessarily. Make sure you ask your server, because one might be the turnip cake while the other will be the taro cake, and they both are different in taste, if not the look. Okay, we're still going on, and I mean, we've got some stuff. The next one is is this the Chinese
Chinese green onion dumplings.
And what do we do with these? Now, these dumplings are actually fried. We've looked at a lot of steamed things. Is that right? Sauteed on this.
These are pan fried.
Pan fried.
Like the Japanese says, the gyoza.
For those, again, we talk shumai. Most shumai is steamed and usually in a round circle. Gyoza sometimes is crescent shaped or a longer shape, but it's then sauteed in a pan on the stove. So so for those who are familiar with the two terms, this would be classified as gyoza, but it's Chinese green onions, right?
Yes.
Okay. Next, remember we talked about the French stuffed bell peppers. Well, if I got my listing correct, the next should be the spicy hot version, the Mexican version. There they are. And that's the stuffed shrimp jalapenos. Anything you want to tell us about that?
If you like spicy, this is the dish for you, because it is quite a kick.
Again, the same similar filling, though. Is that correct?
Correct. The same filling as your bell pepper with the shrimp and onions.
But it's just if you're going to get a bite of that pepper, you know you're going to eat pepper, right?
Correct. It is spicy.
So for those who don't want the hot spice in New Orleans, you want to stay with the bell pepper and go with that. Okay, now the next, This one is very unusual, I thought, of dumplings. And it was very well received by most of the diners that came with us at last Saturday. And that is a scallop dumpling. We hear more and more scallop dishes and getting a lot of rave reviews everywhere. Look at the beauty of this. And we'll talk about it in some detail. Now, again, it looks like the rice coating. Let's talk about what we have here.
Yes, it is wrapped in rice flour, and then it's the whole scallop inside.
Right.
But on top, you can see it has a little smelt roe.
Yeah, for those who are not familiar with smelt roe, I know you've never eaten in a Japanese restaurant. Roe, of course, is the term for egg. It's actually the fish eggs. And that's what these is called. It's the most common fish egg, and not necessarily called caviar, but that's similar kind of concept. So this is from the smelt roe, and it has a wonderful little crunch. Not a lot of flavor, but just a beautiful decorative and a crunch in your mouth. So we're talking scallop, and again, that's steamed. Is that correct? Back to the steam.
Yes,
so,
it is correct.
Beautiful whole scallop wrapped in the rice, with a little smelt roe to give it just a little color and also a little additional flavor. Okay. Now the next will be something that I totally like, but the name of it might scare somebody off.
That's the card.
That's the card. Sorry.
Prior to getting the dish.
Okay, let's talk about which card is this.
This is the kanji card.
Now, for kanji, I know you use the term. Again, we have to explain now. Not everyone knows what kanji is. Can you tell us what that is?
It's porridge, rice soup.
Rice.
It's rice in the form of a soup.
So for those who say, oh my goodness, eat oatmeal or something like that, it's going to look like that, but much whiter. It's and we're going to see even a specific dish a little later that is just fantastic using the rice porridge. But let's go ahead and move on to another close-up, please. Okay, this is the close-up I was telling you. This is the rice porridge, is that not right?
Yes.
And what do we have in there? Some green onions or what?
Green onions and cilantro is on top of it. But this rice soup is cooked in very water form with preserved duck eggs.
Ah, there it is.
And shredded pork.
Shredded pork. Okay, so notice that it's, as she mentioned, it's more water. It's white, but it's not as thick as porridge would normally look. It's got a little clarity to it. It's not totally opaque, and that's because of the water. Now, again, this is something unusual for most American palates if they're not familiar with the Asian eating, and that's duck eggs. Yeah. Duck eggs raw duck eggs, in fact, are considered a specialty that a lot of Asians love, and Americans are starting to learn to acquire a taste. So it's something that we use. Now here you're steaming the duck eggs, is that right?
Yes. The preserved duck eggs, the reason why you see it's in black, because it is pickled and preserved.
Ah, okay.
So then once
it's not raw, so somebody right away,
that's raw.
I can't eat that, that's raw.
No, it's not raw at all.
So it's already preserved in a pickling, so it's going to be a little cold. Is that how it's normally served?
Yeah, it is normally, a lot of people eat the duck eggs with just regular rice, but because we cook it in the soup, it brings out the creamy flavor of the soup.
Right.
Yes.
And of course, there's no shell or anything like that. It's all taken out of the shell.
No.
So that's great. Okay, the next one I have is sweet egg custard tart. Now again, this is not featured. This is a dessert or no?
Yes, it is a dessert.
Now again, folks, even though I have to apologize because of the huge number, we weren't able to put these in our normal order where we go soup, appetizer, soup, salad. So you'll have to forgive us for jumping back and forth. But you can see by the sheer numbers here, it's almost impossible to categorize each one. So we're going to touch on a few desserts, I think, now, but then we'll go back to some of the entrees. So this is a sweet egg custard tart. Is that right?
Correct.
And let's talk about that for those. Hopefully they're familiar with egg custard, which is served in a lot of restaurants, no matter what the nationality is as a dessert. And why is it sweet? Is it sugar added to it, or what?
Sugar is added to it. It's similar to, I guess, a lot of people know the flan in French.
Flan, exactly.
Flan, and then also in the Spanish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Both of our native cuisines here, French and Spanish, have the flan.
Yes.
And both use that egg custard.
Correct.
Okay, now the next one, though, is really a wonderful, my favorite dessert, and that's a coconut tart that you all do, I think. Let's take a look at that.
Yes.
Yeah, look at this. It looks a little different than the other. Hopefully you see that. It's not flat. It's got three-dimensional, but loaded with coconut, just wonderful flavor. If you like coconut, this is the place to eat.
Yeah.
Tell us anything particular about this one.
This is shredded coconut, and it is baked on the tart, and on top of it we just decorated with a piece of cherry.
Just a little cherry,
Yes.
mainly for coloring. I don't think
Yes,
it adds
for
the
coloring.
flavor. And
No.
coconut by itself is just really, really good. Now, the next thing, which I'm not sure you consider dessert, is called sesame balls. You know, we have our boudin balls and look at this, and these are sesame seeds. And what else is in here? Let's see.
It is considered dessert.
It is dessert.
Yes,
Okay.
it is dessert because of the sticky dough.
Okay.
It is it's a rice sticky dough that they wrapped inside its mung beans.
Mung beans.
Yellow mung beans. Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Like
So-
mung bean sprouts, if people know that.
Yes.
They eat it healthy. So this is from the mung bean. Go ahead.
Mung bean itself, so it is sweet, so it is a nice texture, and of course the sesames, it's rolling sesames on the outside.
And then is it
It's
deep fried? Deep fried.
It is
Okay.
deep fried.
So if you don't want fried, then of course you'd pass on this. I didn't get a chance to try it, so that's why I'm not able to put any of my 2 cents. But we've had so many of them. Let's go to another one, which is really almost a similar sticky dough puff with pork. Is that right?
Yes.
Looks a little bit like what we're just talking about. So once again, folks, don't think it's another variation of the same thing we just saw. It is different. Go ahead.
It is different for being that it is stuffed with meat. It is stuffed with ground pork and shrimp. It is deep fried, same texture dough, but the sticky dough with rice. So
But
it
deep
is
fried.
not a dessert.
Not a dessert.
Yes,
Deep fried.
it is deep fried.
Okay.
But another little thing, a lot of people don't understand what to call it, so
Right.
we kind of came up with the nickname, the football.
The football, perfect. I'm going to call it the Saints ball now, and that way you really sell it to you, huh? You tell them it's the Saints ball, they'll be running off the carts. Won't be able to keep enough with them. Okay, another one we have here is, again, now this is baked barbecue pork bun. So this is, I would certainly consider this a dessert, but you might not. It looks like a typical bun that you'd be serving with dinner, that you'd butter to go along with your entree. But I consider this a dessert when I tasted it, and you can tell me yes or no whether I'm wrong.
It is not considered dessert.
Thank you.
But it's similar to the steam carp, but because we don't steam it, we bake it. So it's like a roll stuffed in barbecue pork, where it's the sweet and tart barbecue
So
inside.
back to when we had the rice one with that wonderful sweet barbecue, you have that on the inside
Yes,
of this.
yes.
Excellent. Okay. Now, we're really going to start getting a few things that are easily recognizable, so that you won't feel that this whole event is totally foreign to you. And that is the very popular in every Chinese restaurant, the shrimp egg rolls, which are usually deep fried. Is that right?
Yes.
So there's a sample of an order. Tell us a little bit about it. For those who are not familiar with egg roll, they got to be very strange if they haven't been in any Chinese restaurant.
Well, these egg rolls are only stuffed in shrimp. It doesn't
Okay.
have any like normal egg rolls where you see at a Chinese restaurant where it has vegetables.
Vegetables,
It does
right.
not have vegetables
Yeah, this
in
is
it.
pure
Just
with
pure
shrimp. Exactly.
And it is deep fried.
It is deep fried. Okay. Now the next one is called a sponge cake, and again, folks, whether I think it's a dessert, but maybe not. Let's take a look and see if we. Now these are, notice it's 2 different colors, and we apologize. We were taking the pictures before we didn't get a chance to remove the plastic paper above it. So obviously it wouldn't be served like that. These would be opened by your server, but this is how it comes to the table before the server opens. So tell us why the sponge cake is, and why we got different colors and stuff like that.
The sponge cake is a dessert. Some people like to eat it plain, and some others like a coconut cream. But the reason why the different color is the white ones are plain, and the green one, we call it, it has, it's called coconut leaf.
Coconut
Coloring.
leaf.
Yeah, it has a different smell to it, so it smells like coconut.
Smells like coconut, but the flavor's not coconut.
Well, similar. Yeah.
Okay. But I thought the white one
It's,
didn't have coconut?
No.
No.
The white one's plain.
Plain. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I remember eating something that had coconut
Yeah, and
beside-
some Asians, we like to eat it with the coconut milk on top of it. We
yeah.
pour coconut milk on top.
On
of it.
top. Wow.
But it is a
okay.
dessert.
It is a dessert.
Yes.
Okay, I got one right. But now everyone from Thai food, where coconut milk is used a lot on sticky rice and some of their
Correct.
dishes, so I know that. But this one I
Yes.
didn't. All right. Now again, we can't get enough of the steamed barbecue pork. This is called a cake. So let's see the difference on this one. Now again, this looks like a roll or a wrap that you would get at a Japanese or Vietnamese restaurant. Tell us what's different here and what's inside.
Well, this is wrapped. It is steamed. The difference is it's rolled flat, like pancakes
Right. And this is the rice sheets?
Rice sheets. And this is the barbecue pork, but it is not sweet. It's just the barbecue pork that we had before. It's the roasted, but it's sliced thin and then
very
it's
thinly
rolled
sliced.
in.
I got it.
It's
so
rolled
remember,
in.
folks, don't assume that every barbecue pork that you hear at the restaurant is going to be the sweet stuff. Make sure you ask, is this sweet? Because the roasted pork that's also considered barbecue does not contain a sweet sauce. So if you like, some people don't like barbecue with, have like ketchup or kind of sweetness, then you want to steer toward the roasted ducks or the roasted material where it doesn't carry that sweet flavor. I like them both, so either way, whatever's available to me. Now another one is a steamed shrimp rice cake. We've had them as dumplings and had them other. Let's take a look at the steamed shrimp rice cake. And once again, this looks like the thing we just saw before, but it's not. And tell us a little bit about it, please.
This is shrimp. And then also a side note with all these dishes that is the steamed cakes like this, it also comes with a sweet soy sauce, and it's cut up.
I knew that, and I meant to say it on the first one. That this is a pure version, but oftentimes a lot of these dishes will come with either dipping or pouring sauce. So on this one and the prior one, is it a similar sauce?
Yes, it is a sweet sauce on all three that we have available, different kinds of meat. But the server who's serving this dish, she mostly cut into a little smaller portion for you so that it's easier for you to grab and you don't have to eat the whole piece.
Okay. So now that was the pork, or was that the beef?
The first one was the pork, and the second one is the shrimp.
It's the shrimp, okay.
So the next one we'll see beef.
I think then we have a third one. There we go. So you see, folks, these are all similar looking, but you wouldn't be able to tell just by the eyesight for the most part. So that's why your server comes in so handy. This is the rice, but steamed again, but in this one it's containing beef. Is that correct?
Correct. This is beef.
Excellent. Okay, excellent. Now the next one goes back to that wonderful roasting. We're talking about roasted duck, and I believe we'll take a picture and then we'll talk a little bit. Let's see. Look how beautiful those. Whether you're talking about the roasted pork, the roasted chicken, or roasted duck, which is so synonymous with Chinese food, they have it here. So don't think, like I say, for those who got to see something that they recognize, here's another standby, so that you go there, you won't have to say, oh, I can't eat any of this because all this is new to me. There's going to be a lot of dishes that will be common in the Chinese restaurant, so if you want to just go bland and stay with the normal stuff, you can do that as well. Anything you want to mention about the beautiful duck?
The roasted duck, of course, everybody knows the skin is the most excellent part of the duck.
That's right.
It's very crunchy, and it's a long process to get that.
Beautifully done, beautifully presented. Now, folks, once again, we're talking to Sophie TRAN. She's a restaurant manager, beautiful face. She told us she really dressed up for us today. Beautiful, beautiful look. And she's telling us about Panda King on the West Bank on 925 Bourbon in Gretna in the magnificent, huge Hong Kong market. Her restaurant is really broken up into 3 dining rooms, and one of them is dedicated solely to dim sum, and that is what we've been showing you today. Remember, that's on Saturday and Sundays only, ranging from 10:30 to 3 o'clock?
Yes.
Yeah. So you need to get in. Don't wait till 3 because you will not have time to enjoy the magnificent varieties that just keep coming out of Chef Lamb's kitchen. So get there early, or we went for 12 and still were able to reach, but it did fill up. There is good turnover because of the proximity and the number of dishes. Not everyone can imbibe all these dishes. You know, we gave them a good run for their money, but at the same time, a wonderful variety. So you can go back and then learn what these are, and come back another time bringing some friends or additional family members. But let's pick it up where we left off. But don't forget, if you want to call, don't hesitate. We'll answer any questions. We've got beef short ribs. Now, again, we're talking about ribs. We've had spare ribs early on steamed, but this is more traditional. Let's talk about the beef short rib.
Yeah, the beef short ribs here is a steamed card item, and it's done in a black bean sauce.
Black bean sauce. Now a lot of people hear about black bean sauce, and it is obviously made from black beans. Anything in particular about black bean sauce that people think that's Spanish? Anything with black bean Spanish?
No, the black bean sauce is like a cured black bean.
Yeah.
So it's in a form, and then it's broken down to a thick sauce.
Okay.
So it's nothing like the Spanish dish.
No, very different. So, but very good. Let's go into another one. This again, folks. we always we usually get calls or emails about vegetarian restaurant. Why don't we have a vegetarian restaurant? Well, this restaurant has enough vegetarian to even be more than a vegetarian restaurant. And let's take a look. The next one is sweet tofu and ginger sauce. Well, this is
the cart.
Go ahead. This is the cart. Notice everything is being steamed in that huge cauldron there. And then we're going to actually take it out and serve it in one of the little dishes. I don't think we'll take a look at that now. Is that right? I think we're going to move forward, huh? Let's see. Now, there we go, folks. And this, that's just the lid opening, and you see the dish right there being cooked in the thing. But we want to move to the individual serving, which would be the next picture. Let's see if we can get that. There we go. Now, tell us about this. This is the first time I had tried this, folks, and I was really blown away by it. It was excellent. Go ahead.
It's tofu, steamed. What we do is we cut it. Once we serve this, it's taken out as very thin. We cut it out really thin into this bowl, and we pour, we call it sugar. It's brown sugar with ginger. So it's served hot, and it's considered dessert.
Excellent, excellent. I consider it sweet soup, but I mean, whatever they say is correct. I'm just saying the taste of it is divine. So don't let it, unless you're afraid of porridges or soups. The ginger added to it just really revs it up a great ramp. Now, the next thing that we have is, this is going to be interesting. The next two, for people who know, again, French, know what escargot is, and those are snails. And snails, those little creatures, that some people don't like to think about or even try. Once again, just like in France, you have multiple preparations, usually maybe with a red wine, a Burgund, or with the Italian seasonings, or kind of olive oil. And here we have, and here you can see at the serving card, two different preparations. We have the small escargot, which will be a striped shell, and these are all in their natural shell. And the larger ones in the front. And let's see if we can take a look, and then we'll tell you the trick to eating this, because this can really be tricky for you. I think the first one is the actual sweet with coconut, and there's a smaller smaller escargot. Let's take a look at the next picture, please. Okay, if we can get the next picture. There we go. Now, isn't that beautiful? And you can say, well, I can't eat that. That's straight from the water. But it is cooked. And I'll tell you the trick. What's really good is that your server and at the table will be toothpicks. And in order to get the snail or the escargot out of the shell, the toothpick is actually the best device ever used. And if you stick that and pull it out, it'll come right up. And tell us, this is very unusual for most Americans to think that you would do something sweet with escargot. Go ahead and tell us about it.
It's a sweet coconut sauce that we actually stir-fry and cook it with. But the toothpick, actually, it's used for people who can't do what you're supposed to eat with. These particular escargot, you're supposed to suck it up.
Right.
You're not supposed to use the toothpick. But it's for people who can't suck it up, they use the toothpick to pick it out.
Well, there's some traditions where East and West don't match. And I've learned that, like in Japanese, the proper way to tell your chef that you love the soup is to pick it up and to slurp. To actually make that slurping sound, which by all American standards considered poor etiquette. Yeah. Same thing here. Most people don't want to go to the table and do that, but that is the real way. Yes, so I'm telling the Americans out there, the people who are not used to eating Chinese food, don't panic. You can't use your fork. Fork is not going to work, and even chopsticks aren't going to be strong enough unless you, I don't know what metal you could use, but the normal chopstick will not take these out. You have to work with a toothpick unless you go the Asian traditional way of eating these things. But please do not let that inconvenience stop you from trying this. It's really good. You don't have to take a big portion. Tell them you just want one or two of each so you can taste the flavor, because it's really excellent. Okay, we got to run there because we're running out of time, so we're going to go curry. The next thing is, unfortunately, duck feet in the black mushrooms, so we'll go quickly through that. Let's take a look. That's tasty. Let's go through that. Let's go quicker because we're running out of time, folks. Let's see if we can move a little quicker. All right, that is the... is that correct?
Duck.
The duck. It was just like we had the chicken or the phoenix. This is duck feet with the wonderful, huge black mushrooms. Let's move on. The next is a pan-fried rice cake with eggs. Let's take a look at this. Look how beautiful that is. No?
This is the Hong Kong
black?
egg roll, which is the bean curd sheet wrapped in with shrimp and pork, and it's done in a form of egg roll, pan fried.
Okay, we skipped one, but that's Hong Kong. So named after the preparation, but it is an egg roll deep fried in Hong Kong. All right. Now, unless we go back, I think the next one should be squid and seaweed. We're starting to get to some salads.
Yes,
and there's the trays that have the cold salads and fruits. And let's take a look at the next picture, please. Let's see if we can get it. And this is my first, and this I learned to eat in Japanese. This is a cold squid and seaweed salad. Don't reel in havoc. This is a wonderful salad. It's very standard in Japanese restaurants. Sometimes it'll be actually even be served as a mousse de bouche. But wonderful, wonderful cold salad. Anything you want to tell us about it?
It's just served just like that. Presentation, and then they're just also has a hint of spice. It does have a little pepper, so you might be
right. But really, really good, nice and cold, and just what you need. Now the next one is something not for the weak, but wonderful tasting if you'll try it, and that is jellyfish salad. In fact, what I usually do is get a combination of Japanese of all three of these together, and it's just divine. Anything you want to tell us about the jellyfish salad? Because I know they're probably screaming in their seats right now.
The jellyfish salads is it's actually underneath. You really can't see it, but it has pickled vegetables. It brings out the jellyfish.
Brings out the jellyfish, exactly. The way it's layered, you can't see it, but there is a thing underneath it. Okay, the next one, we have something you might see a lot in Vietnamese, and that is the shrimp spring rolls. Spring rolls, you see, are not fried like the egg rolls. And you can see the wonderful shrimp dipping out there with a great sauce. Now we're going to look at a couple of desserts because we got to run through, folks. We only got about 4 minutes left. I knew this would happen. And then something Americans should recognize this, even though it's unusual, and that is almond jello. That's almond flavored, so it won't be the normal stuff you get from the box. So great, great taste. Next one after that is fresh fruit. Well, that needs no explanation. But let's go on back. We're getting a skip. And this next thing is cold vinegar chicken feed. We're back on the feed, but this is cold vinegar. Would this be considered a salad? What would this be considered?
Well, yeah, it's just because it's cold, it's vinegared. It also have preserved vegetables underneath it, too. But
okay. We got to move on. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to cut you short, but the next two things we'll see it in a tray, and then hopefully we'll go a little quicker and we'll see them individual. Things you'll recognize, and those are rice noodles and egg noodles. For people who know, we're going to look at the first one. Will actually be rice noodles with vegetables, and that in the Chinese is chow fen. The one on the right with the left, the one with the egg noodles and vegetables is chow mein. So I know a lot of you out there have had at least the chow mein, if not chow fen. So if we move on a little bit, can we move on to try and get these last few in before we close out? Let's see if we can move. Okay? The next one is that's your chow mein, right? Which is the egg noodles.
No,
rice noodles. I got it. And then let's go to the other one, please. Don't stop. Okay, there's the chow mein, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's your egg noodles. First was the rice. Okay, let's go with another one. Now, this is fabulous. This looks like a great appetizer in any of our restaurants. These are magnificent large shrimps, prawns. It's a spicy sweet shrimp. Real quick about it. Anything about it?
A spicy sauce shrimp.
There you go.
And it's with the shell.
Whole big prawns. Next one, shrimp balls. Anything about it?
It's deep fried shrimp balls.
Okay, and lastly, clams. How are the clams done? Let's see if we can go with that.
Black bean sauce.
Okay,
stir fry with bell peppers and cilantro.
Okay, folks, we had a lot of pictures more to show you, not of the food, but certainly of the folks that went with us at the New Deal Dining Club. But you can go anytime on a Saturday and Sunday. We're so appreciative that restaurant manager SOPHIE TRAN has come to the studio today. You can see our credits. Don't forget to go to Panda King and try your dim sum on weekends. We'll see you in the restaurants. Take care.
Thanks to Nitrous.